Welcome back. Today, we've got a really practical explainer lined up for you. Look, if you have a visionary project but you just keep hitting a brick wall when it comes to financing it, we are going to figure this out together. Today, we're going to completely demystify how to secure funding grants. And to do that, we're diving into a real-world gold standard example, the Atlantis Atlas Project Contribution Program. We're essentially going to treat their applicant guidelines like an insider's treasure map, decoding exactly what institutional grantors are truly looking for behind the scenes. So, to anchor our case study today, we're looking directly at the Atlantis Atlas Project Contribution Program. These guys are the driving force behind a massive initiative at Atlantis Dubai. Basically, they take a portion of their earnings from things like marine experiences and green meetings, and they funnel it straight into partnerships that support global marine conservation and sustainability. By dissecting exactly how an organization with this level of commitment evaluates its applications, you can learn how to perfectly position your own project for success, honestly, no matter who you're pitching to. This isn't just about winning this one specific grant. It's about learning the universal language of successful fundraising.
Here is the roadmap for our explainer today. We're covering 1. Unlocking conservation grant funding, 2. Who can actually apply, 3. Aligning your project's mission, 4. Timeline and financial specifics, 5. The winning evaluation criteria, and 6. Post-award rules and reporting.
Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, Unlocking Conservation Grant Funding. So, before you even think about looking at the paperwork, you absolutely have to understand the emotional and environmental core of the organization holding the funds. Their guidelines state, at Atlantis Dubai, we envision a healthy and productive ocean valued by an enduring global audience that will appreciate and benefit from its diversity. Now listen, this isn't just corporate speak. This is your North Star as an applicant. Your very first step in securing a grant is proving that your project shares this exact DNA. If your project doesn't fundamentally align with their vision of protecting the ocean for a global audience, your application is going to fall flat no matter how beautifully it's written. It is all about finding that shared heartbeat.
All right, Section 2, who can actually apply? Every grant program out there has a gatekeeper checklist, right? To walk through the door here, you have to be 18 or older. But here's the cool part, you don't necessarily have to be a PhD scientist. Academics and non-scientists alike are totally welcome. But there is a catch. You can't just be a lone wolf. You've got to be affiliated with a research institute, an NGO, a government agency, an educational body, or a grassroots community organization. Plus, you need a designated project leader who can manage all the reports and share outcomes. And interestingly enough, they're incredibly open geographically. Whether you're based locally, right there in the GCC, or you're an international applicant, you are highly encouraged to throw your hat in the ring. They just want the best ideas, regardless of borders.
Let's talk about the project itself. What actually gets funded versus what gets immediately tossed out. Successful projects are those running for 1 year or less, and they focus heavily on conservation in natural ecosystems. On the flip side, and this is a big one, do not ask them to fund your tuition, your scholarships, or study abroad programs. It's just a hard no. And crucially, projects that only benefit zoo or aquarium animals without any clear application to conserving animals in the wild, completely ineligible. Knowing these deal breakers upfront literally saves you hours of time and immediate heartache. It lets you pivot your energy toward an application that actually has a fighting chance.
Moving right along to Section 3, Aligning Your Project's Mission.
The absolute key here is that your project has to fit snugly into one of their 4 strategic pillars. First up, marine conservation, which is all about promoting the long-term survival of species in natural ecosystems. Second is scientific advancement, so pushing forward veterinary science, genetics, or taxonomy that applies to animals in the wild. Third is education and awareness, empowering people to make informed environmental decisions. And fourth is sustainability, developing new ways to actually reduce environmental impacts. To secure the funding, you have to make it undeniably clear which of these 4 boxes you're checking. If you try to be everything all at once, you're just going to dilute your impact and confuse the reviewers. Pick the pillar your project serves best and just lean into it heavily throughout your entire pitch.
Next up, Section 4, Timeline and Financial Specifics.
Let's be real, a great idea is totally worthless if you miss the deadline. The application window here is a very rigid annual cycle. Submissions open on April 1st and they close firmly on June 1st. The Conservation and Science Committee then spends June and July meticulously reviewing everything, and you get your answer on August 1st. You simply cannot send in late proposals. The only exception to this entire schedule is if you have a project of an incredibly urgent nature, like something requiring a super quick response to mitigate an issue of serious conservation consequence. Otherwise, you've got to mark your calendars, because in the grant world, timing is quite literally everything.
Now let's look at the financial reality.
We're talking about funding tiers of up to $15,000 per project, broken down into small and larger funding pools. But you really need to pay close attention to how they want you to spend it. The program will cover travel, fieldwork equipment, lab work, even specialized consultants. However, the committee explicitly prioritizes grants that allocate a high proportion of their total budget to actual operation and running costs. Basically, they want to see their money doing the hard work in the dirt, or, well, in the water for this case, not just paying for administrative overhead. You have to show them exactly how their dollars will fuel the boots on the ground.
All right, we made it to Section 5, the winning evaluation criteria.
So put yourself in the shoes of the Conservation and Science Committee for a second. They have this massive stack of applications. Everyone in the pile is eligible. Everyone fits the pillars perfectly. So what makes one application jump to the very top of the pile while another gets set aside? What exactly are they looking for?
This is the secret sauce. We can actually look at the internal scorecard. Yes, obviously your project needs to be relevant to conservation, but look at these specific metrics. They want feasibility, a realistic timeline, manpower, and a budget that equals a high probability of success. They want to see real opportunities for collaboration and synergy. They want your work to contribute to the broader scientific community, maybe with the potential to be published or expanded on later. And do not miss this last one. They are actively looking for projects that will potentially gain international or regional media interest. A standard pitch talks about the science. A winning pitch proves the science is feasible, collaborative, and captivating enough to literally generate headlines for the cause.
Finally, Section 6, Post-Award Rules and Reporting.
Let's say you've done it. You pitched brilliantly, you won the grant. Awesome. But the journey isn't over. Receiving the money means adhering to some pretty strict accountability. First, you have to sign the terms and conditions and officially acknowledge receipt of the funds. And by the way, that money can only be dispersed to a registered company or organization's bank account, never to an individual. Then, the real work gets tracked. You are required to submit a progress report at the 6-month mark on March 1st, and a final report 1 year after funding on September 1st. You've got to maintain detailed accounts ready for an audit at any time. True transparency and tangible outcomes are exactly what keep that door open for future funding, because organizations actually are allowed to reapply year after year.
We've really unpacked the blueprint together today. We've seen how aligning your mission, understanding those financial constraints, and playing directly to the committee's scorecard can take your proposal from just good to absolutely undeniable. So the only question left to answer is this: what ocean conservation challenge will you solve with the right funding? Take these structures, apply them to your own vision, and go make a massive impact. Thanks so much for exploring this with us today.